I don't know. It said public hearing.
It is now 9:30, and I ask that if you would at this time will join us in a moment of silence to honor one of our Henry County firefighters, Captain Chuck Carter, whose service actually will be held today at 11 o'clock at Glen Haven, and he passed earlier this week due to illness. So again, if you would join me in a moment of silence. I ask now that you join me in an invocation by bowing your heads. Dear Lord, we come this morning, coming to just make the proper and wise decisions and laying before this task today of making some decisions on behalf of Henry County. We ask that you continue to bless our work with wisdom, guidance, and clarity on behalf of those that live, work, play, and serve here. And we just ask this special prayer in your Son, Jesus Christ's name, and all that agree, please say amen. Amen. Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We now call this meeting of the Board of Commissioners together and welcome you all to our public meeting for this day. We now call for a motion to accept the agenda as published. We have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion, comments, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? The purpose of this meeting is a public hearing on the proposed millage rate for the upcoming fiscal year 2017-2018. By law, 3 public hearings are to be held and public input received. We had the first 2 meetings, one on July 20th at 9:30, the second one at 6:30 p.m. And this morning's meeting is meeting number 3. Which will begin with a short presentation by the county manager, and then we will move forward with the public comment portion. After all citizens have had an opportunity to speak, the board will adopt the millage rate. This now constitutes a public hearing, and I would now call our county manager, Sherry Hobson-Matthews, and staff forward to give our presentation. Afterwards, each citizen will be allowed up to 3 minutes each for public comment. And I now yield the floor to the county manager at this time. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and board members. As Chair Wood has indicated, this is our third and final public hearing that is required in reference to setting our millage rate. During the meeting on July 20th at 9:30 and at 6:30, myself and the Deputy County Manager went through a series of slides just to set the foundation for how we got to this point. So this morning I will not be presenting the entire PowerPoint presentation, but it is available on our county website for those individuals who may not have had an opportunity to view the PowerPoint presentation. What I will do this morning, Brad just handed out a handout that I will present to the board, and then you have 2 resolutions that are before you this morning. One is the resolution levying and assessing a millage rate of 12.733, and one is a resolution assessing the millage rate at 13.733. What I've placed on the overhead again is just a recap of the current millage rate at 12.733 and then the recommended millage rate at 13.733. If you'll notice, under the current millage rate at the 12.733, it would allow for the Priority 1 fleet replacements to be accomplished under that current millage rate. but it would not allow for any of the priority 1 facility repairs to be done. Obviously, under the 12.733 millage rate for the FY19 budget, which would be next year's budget, we would have to bring to that budget $6.6 million. And so that would be a carryover of what we would need to begin our budget conversations with for next year. The current balance in our fund balance is $1.6 million. And during the meeting last week, I think a question was raised in terms of where are we with our fund balance. I did comment at that time conservatively about $12 million, but would not have a for sure number until we did our final closeout. What we've done is we've had things that have come in, and we're still looking at about the $12 million, but we do show that the FY17 surplus forecast is $15 million with some less year-end adjustments of approximately $2.5 million, taking it down to about $14 million. Again, this is just a forecast for us. We have the capital vehicles expenditures of about $5.3 million, and then we'll need that $6.6 million for our FY19 budget, taking our fund balance above the 25% to $2.1 million, meaning for this fiscal year, the only funds that would be available above that 25% would be the 2.1. Now, if you look at the proposed millage rate or the recommendation from staff with the millage rate at 13.733, if the board elects to increase the millage rate by 1 mil, it would increase our revenues to about $6.5 million. We would be able to do all of the priority 1 fleet replacements at a cost of $5.3 million, but we would also be able to add the priority 1 facility repairs at about $4.7 million. And then for the next year FY19 budget, we would only need to utilize $200,000 out of fund balance. Now that's important because we've talked about it at the staff level that we've got to become undependent of our fund balance, which is one of the reasons we've looked at increasing the millage rate so that we can have a lesser impact on our fund balance, but also start addressing some of those capital projects that we've discussed with you over the last couple of weeks. Again, the current balance would be the $1.6 million. Your surplus forecast obviously would go up from the $15 million to $21.5, and then our less year-end adjustments would be $2.5, giving us a total available $20 million if we were to increase the millage rate to the 13.733. Again, we would have the capital vehicles taken care of and the priority 1 facilities, which takes your total capital expenditures to $10 million. And then we would only need the $200,000 for our FY19 budget, leaving us with $10.3 million above the 25%. Again, I want to make sure that I do make you all aware that the requested priority 2 fleet and facility needs of $4.3 million are not included in any of the figures that I've discussed this morning, nor will those projects be included if the board elects to set the millage rate at 12.733 or 13.733. I will now give the public an opportunity to offer public comments, and then if the board has any questions for me or staff, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Are there any questions or comments from the Board of Commissioners before we begin the public comments portion? Okay, very good. I now would like to invite any citizen wishing to speak on this matter to come forward. Please be reminded that each person who addresses this board, we just ask it again that you be respectful in your presentations and that we, again, will acknowledge your First Amendment rights. We will have you each will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you would please state your name and address for the record, we'll now begin. So we do ask for any public comments at this time.
Commissioners, my name is Carl Swenson. I live in Stockbridge, the unincorporated part. I'm not sure why we're here. Board, Ms. Wood, when you start this meeting with, we're going to hear from the public and then we're going to approve this millage increase. Not if, but we all already know that that's what the board is going to do. I just want to remind you that what you want to do is in direct contradiction to campaign promises that 3 of you made. You've heard this before. I also want to remind you that there's a lot of waste going on. You know that. The county government, by its very nature, is wasteful. And there's ways for the clever among you to look at this line item budget and do what you said you were going to do, which is to, at the very least, hold the line. Just hold the line. You are our only defense against a growing and ever-expanding bureaucracy. And one of the things that's growing the most right now is Parks and Rec. A lot of money going into Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is not the police, it's not the fire, it's not infrastructure. It's somebody's personal wish for their community that gets funded by the entire community. Sometimes there's good ideas. Sometimes we agree with you, sometimes we don't. But this surplus, that's kind of interesting. I wish we could vote ourselves a surplus, but we can't. You have the unique position of just waving your hands and having money magically appear in the coffers of the county. But you're doing so without the benefit of having the people behind you. The only people you're supporting are your fellow commissioners and those that work for the county. You need to hold the line. You need to listen to the people that have been talking because they've given you ideas on how to save money. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Lila Brady and I live in McDonough. And basically my comment is, after hearing from the last citizen, I understand what he's saying, that quite a few monies have been put into Parks and Recs. But I'd caution citizens and for the board, when you hear from people, not to listen to just one, because Parks and Recs are important, especially for those of us that have children and that like outdoor activities. So Parks and Recs are important, and that is something that my family and I enjoy and value. When it comes to waste and other things, every government has some amount of waste. That is unrealistic not to think that it doesn't. People's personal budget does. Eating out and things are sometimes wasteful. But what I do caution on, or what I am concerned about, is that some of us, our increases in jobs or rebounding from the economy have not fully rebounded. And a tax hike would take a necessary burden on households that are just recovering or have just started to recover from being through the recession. So that would be my thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
morning. I'm representing ethics in government. I want to bring two things to the forefront of the board. One is our school board has maxed out its taxes. Can't go no higher. They spent all the T-Splash money they can rake and scrape. And yet they fired 5 principals this year, and the head of it took a hiatus. You know, you can't keep throwing money at something that's won't work. You can't keep doing the same things because there's no more money now, and you can't face that. You know, Senator Johnny Isaacson came to my school a few months ago. He said he was amazed. And this is one of the things that was discussed. Why are we doing the same thing in our public school system, which is clearly not working? Why do we keep doing the same thing? I couldn't answer that. I couldn't tell him because you can't talk to them. They don't listen. And now we're talking about hiring another one, administrator, paying him more money, and with no solutions. We changed math 5 times in 6 years. We just keep doing the same thing, doing it stupider. Now, I want to approach this board. I know you're going to raise taxes. I have accepted that. I know that's what you're going to do. And if you're going to do that, if you don't provide quality of life solutions to our problem, your young people are going to leave, and they're not coming back. And I'm going to share with you what I told a bank president in Mitchell County a few years ago. If you let all of your smartest, most innovative and creative young people leave, your problems have just started. It's going to get a whole lot worse. It takes all of us to make things work. It takes those that are innovative and creative to create new jobs and create new opportunities. Quality of life is one of the greatest enhancers of that process there is known to man. I challenge you to be innovative and creative in solving your problems, and quality of life must start with this board. And if you fail to do so, then you will fail our whole county and our structure. Don't continue to do the same things over and over.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I own property in Locust Grove, and I just had something quick to say. Jenna Thrasher. It is easy to justify any tax increase. We hear all the time that you want police, right? You want fire. You want the EMTs to come if you call 911, which we do. But these are scare tactics. They appeal to our fear, and they overshadow the fundamental issue, which is justice and liberty. Is it just to tax the citizens into submission? Is it just to tax the citizens into complacency? Complacency isn't simply laziness. It comes from the populace believing that it does not have a voice. I am one person. I know that these meetings are simple platitudes and that the decision to increase the millage rate has already been made. I know my voice doesn't matter, and that is the real injustice. Our voices don't mean a damn thing.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
My name is Charles Moon. I live at 148 Hilda Way, right off 81. Special morning to Mr. Barnum, my representative. I'm going to probably use the remainder of my time, but I am a fiscal hawk, and I'm in the financial service industry, and I have a true problem when the people themselves are not involved in how the money is spent. I realize you guys are going to raise taxes. My only concern is that a great bulk of what gets spent in this increase happens on a depreciating asset, right? So if you're asking me, a citizen of District 3, where the spending should happen, it shouldn't happen on the vehicles, right? Because we spend a lot of money on these vehicles, yes, and I've got it here. We're buying 2 passenger vans, 3 support vehicles, 2 F-150s, F-350, F-250, a tractor. I'm not so much concerned about fire trucks and ambulance. Those are things that we need. Bush track ladders, ladders for the trucks. It's a lease, right? 19 Dodge Chargers for our police stations, right? 5 speed trailers, 2 passenger vans for recreation, 2 F-250s for recreations. Sentence enforcement, we're buying a new police Impala, 10 Chevy Inceptors for the sheriff's office. See, the problem is when you buy a vehicle, a consumer buys a vehicle, they drive it off the lot, it's worth what? Half, right? So the problem here is that our county government is willing to spend money on things that depreciate, and I'm sure by more than half when they drive off of the lot. My question to you is, couldn't that money be spent better on parks and recreations, would give back to our children, right? Give them something to do, give them some type of organization. It attracts people who want a good life for their children, because the people who are coming here aren't the people who are coming here to retire. Believe it or not, I moved here a year ago. I have 3 little girls at home. And yes, I believe in parks and recreation. I also believe that our police stations need new roofs, right? We need to restructure them. We have roads that need to be done. So if we're talking about spending this money, which we've already decided to do, the bigger challenge is what we're spending it on. So I have a true problem with that. I've got about 30 seconds left. Here's the other problem. If you look out here, we've got about 25, 30 people. The challenge to you guys when you are elected is to be transparent with the people you represent. And part of the problem was, I want you to ask yourselves, is what efforts did you yourself do to make sure that this room was full with the people you represent, that they knew about these tax hikes? Because that's a problem. That's a true problem when I've got to search and dig through the Henry County Herald in order to find the information to show up at this meeting. There should be efforts to make sure that every citizen is represented properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Chair and Board. My name is Carolyn Ingram. I live at 125 Price Drive West in Locust Grove, Georgia, in District 1. I retired 19 years ago, not by choice, because I got hurt. I was fortunate enough that I had worked enough years, 36, at a company that I had a pension, $1,050, that I was guaranteed for the rest of my life, whatever it may be. I also was blessed with Social Security that I had worked and paid in, and Medicare that I had worked and paid in. I have been blessed with very few raises in Medicare and very few raises in Social Security. I have been dogged with constant raises in my property taxes, yet my property is actually not worth anymore. My property values have gone up and down every year. I have proof of that here by tax receipts that I have paid. My taxes have increased in the last 5 years, $750. My property value has not. Of course, it's valuable to me because I have no intention of going anywhere. My daughter has no intention of going anywhere. She lives there too. What I'm trying to say is our money is not going up. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I know already that y'all are going to raise taxes. I give y'all credit for still thinking about those of us who have to pay that money. And the way it looks right now, my taxes are going to go up between $100 and $200 for the year. That comes out of my pocket. It comes out of my ability to take care of myself. And I also, another thing that really concerns me is I see on this wish list, and that's what I call it for some of these things, there are items on there, and I will pick on Nash Farm. We've all heard of that a lot lately. Nash Farm has 2 expensive expenditures on that wish list, and yet I have not seen, even though I haven't been at every meeting, I have seen every meeting because I see it sitting at home. I have not seen a plan, and we have all witnessed the fiasco of what there was not a plan, not this, not that, for Nash Farm, yet we have expenditures on there for things that are plans to be used for Nash Farm, yet we haven't seen the plan. And I can't help but wonder how many of these other things are expenditures where we don't have a plan. What we need to plan is to actually look at things. And another thing, and I know my time's running out, we need to look at how many cars are being driven home by people. Thank you.
Are there any others wishing to speak during this public hearing? Calling again. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during this public hearing? Okay. Well, thank you, and we appreciate your comments. At this time now, this finalizes our public hearing portion of the meeting, and we'll ask our county manager and staff to come again so that there are any comments or questions from the board. Any questions from the board or comments from the board? Commissioner Clemens.
I just want to thank the citizens for not saying that, you know, the citizen that came up and said that I give you guys credit for thinking and being concerned about the citizens of this county. I think as a board, I think all of us are very connected and well-rounded enough to know what's going to be beneficial to our constituents. So just for me, I would say that my goal has always been to do what's best for our constituents and to listen to the constituents. And this is our third meeting. And if this is your first time coming to the meeting, I would just encourage you to come back every first and third Tuesday of the month and see what we're doing, how we vote, and who's representing you. Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Barron.
First of all, let me say thank you for coming to the meeting today. And we do appreciate your comments and your input. This is not always the easiest decision for us to make. And I can tell you, this board is trying to do the right thing for everybody. I heard some comments about recreation. I, for one, support recreation. I think by having recreation, we have less people in our jail system. But I also support all our departments. It takes the DOT to fixing the roads. It takes administration to do everything. Everybody plays a part. We can, you know, when you look at this past budget, and I've been here for 4.5 years, and I have supported 100% rollback each time. And last year we was able to roll it back 100%. But when you look at this year's budget, and you look at it, and 80% of this year's budget is public safety. Now, when you add 3 fire stations and you add the reset program to try to bring our police pay up to par and other employees, you know, when you look at it, 80% of this year's budget is public safety. But each department is important. And, you know, comment about we may have some fat, we do have some fat. There's always way to trim back. But let me say something about that too. We've had 2 past county managers, the past 2, that was not a good fit for Henry County. But I am so proud of Sherry and Brad. We didn't just hire somebody from out of town to come in here. We hired some people that had some stability in Henry County that's been with Henry County government. And they have worked their butt off for the last 6 months to turn things around to the betterment of this county. And I look for them to keep trimming and keep looking till next year. But I appreciate what they done. I appreciate everybody up here. And I'll tell you, I'm not in favor of raising the millage, but I am in favor of leaving the millage where it's at. Thank you.
Other comments from the board? All right, well, I'd like to make a couple of comments as well. First of all, I just want to thank all of the citizens who've come out to all of these public hearing sessions. I also want to thank those that sent emails and even the comments that have been out there on social media. And so I do hope that you all will continue to see this board encourage more to come out. And I agree, we definitely need to do a better job of encouraging people to participate in this process. I see Commissioner Clemens all the time inviting constituents in District 2 to come to these meetings and to be involved. So I do want to say thank you. I do want to say that I do agree with a lot of the comments or several of the comments that came forth from some of our citizens regarding, the things that we need to continue to do. I agree that we need to compliment our county manager, Sherry and Brad, and also that leadership team. I've seen them work behind the scenes, working hard to think not just about where we are, but where we're going to go. And yes, you're right, we've got to have some strategic plans. We need to have priorities of where we are. And I'm gonna tell you all, we didn't get here as a Henry County. This deficit that we're talking about didn't just happen. This has been happening for years. But you've got a board that is really working hard to look for ways to continue to partner with the staff to really move Henry County in a positive direction. I do agree that we need to continue to look at all of our assets, look at our liabilities, and began to develop some comprehensive facility plans. Glad to hear that we've got some vehicle replacement plans that are under the way. And of course, you know, as we begin to look about where we want to go, we've got to begin thinking about other ways to bring in income through liquidations or continuing private-public partnerships with special tax districts and things like that, so that it minimizes any impact to our citizens. We do understand that, you know, there are individuals that are on fixed incomes. I also say that we've got to have a comprehensive financial plan that looks into the future. Henry County is still amongst the fastest growing counties in the metro Atlanta. And if we want to continue to be a sustainable community, a great community with not just quality of life, but a good, sound, safe community, and we've also got to balance out our economic development opportunities in case there's another recession that occurs. We need to appreciate some of these warehouses because they are carrying some of our property taxes to minimize the impact to our citizens, but we've got to have other industries as well so that if there is an economic downturn, that we do have a better mix of commercial so that it minimizes the impact to you and to your property values, and so that our community continues to sustain itself. But I also say that we need to continue, we, citizens, government, businesses, faith-based community, everybody, we've got to work as a team to help us move in a positive direction. And that's why, again, we've got some opportunities. Henry County is at a great crossroads. When I look across this board, I still say the same thing that I said in the very beginning. There's a lot of great diversity, and I'm not just talking about race and gender. I'm talking about talent. I'm talking about innovation. I'm talking about the opportunities if we continue to work as a team to help this county move forward. So my position is, I'm in favor of just the millage rate remaining as it is, but I do encourage our staff to continue to look for efficiencies, to continue to develop the strategic plans and the priorities and the long-range plans so that we're more proactive than we are reactive, because we're coming out of reactive state right now. But again, I'm proud to sit on this board and proud to be here to help this community. So those are my comments. Any other comments by the board? So at this time, now we've heard all of the, and received all of the pertinent information from our county manager and the public input. And we will now, again, just ask again the proposed resolution regarding the 2017-2018 millage rate.
Chair Wood, again, you all have two resolutions in front of you. You should have one that has a highlighted section of 12.733 and one with a 13.733. At this time, I ask the Board of Commissioners to make a motion either setting it at 12.733 or 13.733.
Thank you. The floor is now open for a motion.
I will motion to leave the millage at 12.733.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Are there any further comments, questions, or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, if there's nothing further for the good of the group, we will now open the floor for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. Second. We have a second. Any further comments or questions? All in favor to adjourn? Thank you.